so much for that lovely, lovely playing of the anthem. Thank you. I have to give a shout out to our awesome band. That is Whiskey County. They deserve that. But then not only are they a good band, Whiskey County is also owned by military vets, and two of them playing tonight are Marine vets, and we really appreciate their service. They also are one of the few conservative country bands left in Georgia, sad as it be, but thank you to them, and if you need them for anything, you should look them up. We really appreciate their service, both tonight and abroad and in military, so thank you so much, and thank you everyone for coming. Welcome. My name's Janae Strachey. I'm the Grassroots Director for Heritage Action, and we're really excited to have you guys here. This is our closing event with our tour. We have said, who knows, maybe we'll keep it going, but we kicked off this event in California, nearby Speaker Pelosi's district, because we're talking about these leftist policies that are hurting American businesses, American workers, and we've been touring around giving a platform for those business owners and workers to share their stories because they're hurting. And these are not just stats and statistics on a piece of paper, these are our livelihoods. And we want to share their stories and encourage everyone to hold their members accountable, because if you have a Democrat member, you might as well have Speaker Pelosi as your member. They're all Pelosi's puppets. So that's the point of this tour. We're really thrilled to be here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm going to have our Sentinel, Carolyn Garcia, come up. She's going to officially start this event with a word of prayer. But Carolyn is a long-time and loyal Sentinel, Heritage Action Sentinel and grassroots activist here in Georgia. And we're really grateful for all the work that she's done for the conservative movement as well.
Well, I have to say something before the prayer. As a wife of a Marine, hoorah! Please join me in prayer. Father, we're so grateful to be able to gather together here openly in a free country. We're so grateful that you gave us the opportunity to be born in such a land. We're a young country still, and you love America. We ask, Father God, that you bring our nation back together. We ask that we come together under one banner of love and unity, but not just the word unity, but to have the desire to do your will and to bring good back into our nation. We ask you, Father, that you be with our military. We're so grateful for them. They have sacrificed, many given their lives, and many have been wounded beyond repair. And those who have come back, we're so grateful for it. We just celebrated, or not celebrated actually, but remembrance of 9/11, and it's still very hurtful in our hearts. I pray that that never happens in our country again. We're so divided, Lord, not just in our nation, but other countries around the world, and I know that is not your desire. We've seen this year and a half, almost 2 years now, that has brought such destruction to people's homes, their lives, their businesses, family members lost, and just many are hopeless, Lord. Restore to them the hope that it only comes from you. I just ask you, Father God, that you bless the people that have owned this business. I pray that you would be with the small business owners, the corporations and the large businesses, and people that are starting out and wanting to do something for themselves and provide income for those that they can hire. We just ask, Father God, that you open those doors, that you once again show mercy on our nation, and that we would once again be restored to that shining city on the hill, as so many people talk about. It's not just a phrase, Lord. You ordained America into existence. We ask you that we bring it back to that America again. We ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes. Can I say preach? I mean, come on. What an incredible way to start our night, and I'm so thrilled to be here and to introduce myself. My name is Jessica Anderson. I'm the Executive Director of Heritage Action, and I'm really pumped to be in Georgia. Now, when we were deciding to come here, my team was like, Jess, you got to come up with a joke.
Well, that is not my forte. So then my lovely colleague Noah said, well, why don't you tell everyone you're a Florida Gator? I said, well, I don't want to get booed. I was really worried about it. And they said, no. The best way to do this is to say, I'm a Florida Gator. I'm glad to be in Georgia with a football team that actually wins games. And then everyone will cheer and they will love you. So, with that in mind, I'm a Florida Gator. I'm glad to be here. Bulldogs are doing well, and, you know, it hurts me to say that, but congratulations to you all. Okay, so the reason we're here in all seriousness is to talk about the need to save our paychecks. As Janae described, we kicked off this tour about 6 weeks ago in California, and we have been going basically state to state to end up here tonight in Atlanta. Georgia continues to be ground zero in this country. The road to the Senate majority runs through this state. The way to keep Georgia red runs through this city. And the incredible work that's being done by the Georgia delegation that y'all have sent to Washington by your governor is noticed, and it's needed. And it's needed at a time such as this when we face obstacles that just frankly feel insurmountable. The left has completely destroyed our American institutions, and they are going city by city to take away our freedoms. And we saw this in full display with Biden's vaccine mandate that he declared from on high this last week. So I'm here to say, err on the side of freedom. Let's choose freedom when it comes to our businesses. Let's choose freedom when it comes to our children's schools and what we decide to do with our bodies and our health care. So there's a lot we're going to talk about tonight. We have an amazing list of speakers to talk through the important issues, but I really just want to encourage everyone that as the song goes, Georgia is really on everyone's mind. Georgia continues to be a priority for Heritage Action, and that's why we wanted to end our tour here tonight with each of you. So our first speaker is Congressman Drew Ferguson. This is a man that has represented the state so well in his time in Washington, basically taking it to the man, saying that any sort of a Biden reconciliation bill that adds the Green New Deal, increases $2 trillion worth of taxes, and takes away Georgia jobs is going to stop with him. So let me introduce Congressman Ferguson to kick us off tonight. Sir?
Thank you, Jessica. Jessica, thank you for the work that you're doing at Heritage. You're a fine American. Even though you're a Florida Gator, we recognize that everybody has their problems. So, and besides that, we forgive you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at a tough time in America right now. I want you to think about what happened just a few short weeks ago when President Biden left our fellow Americans in the hands of terrorists, left them $80 billion worth of advanced weapons, and decided that he was going to quit on peace. It's wrong, and the way he handled that is disgusting, and it cuts at us, and it has left a scar in the heart of Americans. But I want to talk to you tonight about what's happening in Washington, D.C. As soon as I'm finished speaking, I'm flying back to D.C. to go do the markup in the Ways and Means Committee on $3.5 trillion worth of liberal spending and new taxes that are going to hit every single American. And you know what's remarkable about this? The Democrats are proud of it. They think it's the right thing for America. They think that socialism is the way forward. Matter of fact, I will go so far as to say without hyperbole, they believe communism is the right way forward. It burns me up. I have never been as mad as I was last Friday when I flew back from D.C. I landed in Atlanta, and I was absolutely disgusted with what I had seen and heard from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. So let me tell you what they're going to do. And this is at the heart of what I'm worried about. The taxes are going to be brutal. If you don't think that they're going to destroy small business in America, they will. And they are scrambling because they know it's a bad plan. They're scrambling to find an out and a way to quote unquote save small business. They're trying to save small business from the very actions that they are about to take. How nuts is that? So they're going to destroy small business. They're going to destroy American competitiveness. They're going to destroy our innovation. Bill after bill after bill that they're putting through right now will make this a less competitive place to do business than it is right now. The great work the Republicans have done over the last few years is about to be undone by liberal socialist Democrats. But here's what worries me more than anything else, is that the spending that they're going to do is they're going to add to the mandatory spending side. What that means is they're going to add to the welfare entitlement state. And they're fixing to go and provide child care for everybody. They're about to, and by the way, they're going to take it away from the private sector and put it in our public schools. How many of you think that indoctrination should start at year 3 of life in the public school system? Okay? We've got enough going on with CRT. The last thing we need to do is add it to a 3-year-old's agenda. So they're going to do child care. They're going to expand Obamacare. Watch this. They're going to move housing assistance into the middle class. Think of Section 8 for middle class America. That's their goal. Eviction moratorium, they're going to extend that. Doubling of the child tax credit without requirements for work, they're going to extend that. They're going to make that permanent. Think about this, paid family medical leave, with the equivalent of a 2.5% payroll tax that they're just going to run through the Treasury with no way to pay for it. And guess what? You're not going to have to tell the employer that you're taking off at 30 days like you do now. You get to tell them in 7 days. And by the way, all you have to do is self-attest to the IRS that there's a family emergency and you get 12 weeks off every year. Every year. Now, how many of y'all know about a little bit of fraud with the SBA economic development loans and the fraud with the PPP loans? There's nothing that could go wrong with this, right? I'm just going to walk into the IRS and say, guess what, Governor? I can't come in. I can't work today. As a matter of fact, I can't work for the next 12 weeks because I've got a sick relative. Well, that sick relative may or may not exist. All you got to do is self-attest. I could go on down the list. Increase in assistance for food stamps. Moving again into the middle class. This utopian dream of the state providing everything for everybody. And what that's going to mean is that means that nobody is going to have to show up for work. So if you like what COVID has done and you like liberal policies, what that's done to your workforce, if you're a small business owner, you're going to love the Socialist Democrat plan because it's going to destroy the work ethic in America. And I'll tell you the one thing that I've learned over my years being a mayor in a town that lost its manufacturing backbone when the textile industry left. When you remove the dignity of work from a fellow American's life, it is inhumane and it is immoral. Our American citizens deserve to be in the workforce, they deserve to be contributing to the good of America, and they deserve to leave a legacy of an example of work to their children and grandchildren. And I think it is disgusting that Democrats are telling Americans, here's a paycheck, stay at home, this is the best that we think you can do, God bless you. That is wrong. It's wrong, and that's what we're going to stand up and fight about every single day. So this is going to keep Americans off of the workforce. It's going to keep them on the sidelines. It's going to kill our ingenuity. It's going to kill the work ethic of America. For what? For power and control. We are enraged. Every one of us should be outraged. They are taking from our children, they are taking from our grandchildren, and they are taking from you right now. It is wrong. I'm going to tell you one thing we're going to do. We're going to go back there, and I'm flying up tonight, and when I go in tomorrow, along with my colleagues, when we go back over the next couple of weeks, you will see an edge to us that you may have never seen before. You will see an anger that you've never seen before. You will see a commitment. You will see a commitment to destroying the liberal socialist agenda like you've never seen before. And I'm going to give you an example of why that's important and who's been leading that way. I could not be more proud to be from this state. The state of Georgia is leading the way across the country. Keep in mind, Georgia was cool before Florida and Texas were cool. Okay? You remember who opened up first? This state right here. You know who is it? Do you know what state small business was thriving in when the rest of the country was going down the tubes? This state right here. You know what state It's protecting paychecks and has been not only protecting paychecks, but growing paychecks. It's this state right here. And I'm going to tell you something right now. That didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen because liberal socialists are under the gold dome. It's happened because we are led by Republicans, and the lead Republican in the state of Georgia is our Governor, Brian Kemp. So Brian Kemp. Brian, I want to publicly thank you right now for all you've done to make this the greatest state in the nation for doing business. I want to thank you for protecting the paychecks of my fellow Georgians. And I want to thank you for making sure that this is the best state to live in. And bottom line, I want to thank you for making it harder to cheat and easier to vote. God bless you, my friend. So with that, every one of us, let's get the edges right. Let's get the knuckles hard. Let's go fight this because we can win. We don't have to accept the outcome. With unity in our party, every single one of us can win this battle, and it's important, and it's the hill worth dying on. God bless you. God bless this great country, and God bless our state. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Give it up for Congressman Ferguson. You know, one of the things that he said that just couldn't ring more true to me is outlining everything that's on the line for us. Yes, it's our business, but behind our business, it's our livelihood. It's for our families. It's what gets us up. It's the dignity of work. And all of that is on the line when you look at Biden's agenda and how he is going to use our taxpayer dollars to bring in an entirely new big government socialist agenda. And we have to be on watch. And I loved what the congressman said, you're going to see an edge. I mean, thank you. That would be great. So, we have our work cut out for us. Congressman Hice is up next. He has been on the front lines. He's frankly a frontline conservative in more ways than one, pushing back hard in Washington, using committees to do that, using and wrangling leadership to do that. I'm proud to call him a friend. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Hice.
Wow, thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thanks, Heritage Action, for all that you do, and Jessica, your leadership, all of you with Heritage Action. We appreciate what you do more than you ever know. Listen, we are in a major league fight. There's no one in here that is not keenly aware of that. You are in so many ways on the tip of the spear on so many issues, and I want to thank you for that. And so really our time here this evening is primarily to pull our hearts together, right? So that we are on the same page in understanding just what we are up against and the issues that we're fighting. And, listen, I don't know that there's ever been more of a dangerous time in our country. We're fighting things like socialism. Are you kidding me? Who 5 years ago would ever have imagined that this would be the major thrust of a major political party in our country right now, and all the horrible things that are associated with that type of worldview is just mind-boggling, and we are watching it unfold right before our eyes right now. And for that reason, some of you have probably heard me say before, but everywhere I go, we are in the fight of our life right now for this country, and this is not the time to wave the white flag. This is a moment in our history, in our lives, where every one of us have to dig deep, and we've got to get planted on what we believe and defend the liberties that we have so enjoyed in this country. So look, here we are, defending, protecting our paychecks, and looking at the reality of what's coming down the line in Washington, D.C., as Drew just shared, it would scare you to death. And what is added to all that is the environment in which we're working in D.C., where literally they're pushing us aside, very little authentic debate. Virtually all Republican amendments are ruled out of order, so we're not even really able to interject common sense policies into what the horrific things are being proposed, all this type of stuff. And what do the Democrats have to show for what they are doing? I mean, I have never in my life seen a period of time where it's one horrible decision after another after another. In fact, since inauguration, I can't even think of one good decision that's been made for this country. Everything has been undermining our country, and it's showing up for what it really is. But you look at this, expanding the welfare state. Like, that's a good idea. But that's what they're doing. Expanding the welfare state. We are crippling, we are watching the crippling of our labor force. Like, who thinks this is good? You know, we're watching inflation skyrocket right now. And underneath all of that, we have out of control spending, and we have our national debt ballooning literally out of control. And all of us are going to suffer for this. I'm sure you saw the jobs report, what was it, last week? It came out, 235 or whatever thousand jobs created. Expected some 730, only missed it by 500,000. Yeah, and somehow we're supposed to brush that aside and say it's okay, we're headed in the right direction. We could not be headed in more of a wrong direction under any other circumstance than what's currently happening. And I wish we had time to go into in a different format. Drew touched on it with Afghanistan, with all this stuff. You just look at what's happening and it makes chills run up our spine. And all the while, our liberties, our freedoms being sucked out of our life and out of our communities. It's just, it's incredible to think of. And yet we are in the midst of it all. As horrible as things are, we are in a state that's being led, still the #1 state in America for business, the #1 state that leading the way to deal with COVID. And, we, as difficult even as it is here in Georgia, we are nowhere near what other states in this country are facing because of the leadership that we have here. And we have so much to be grateful for in that regard. But listen, here's just a couple of things, and I've got a flight I've got to catch as well. But listen, we're talking out of control spending. Drew's going back tonight to deal tomorrow with a markup of $3.5 trillion. We can't even comprehend this kind of money. And it's just thrown out there as though no big deal. This is a big deal. We are watching our country being bankrupted right here before our eyes. 30 trillion some odd dollars in debt, and it continues going up and up and up and up. And there is absolutely zero will among the Democrats in particular. Well, I'll be honest with you. There are two groups in Washington that are addicted to spending, and that is the Democrats and the Republicans, quite frankly. I mean, we have been just as guilty, and Republicans have got to understand you cannot spend money you don't have. We have got to get this under control. And so, it is totally disingenuous to pretend as though it's just Democrats that have been involved in this out-of-control spending. But we have got to get this stuff under control. We have got to understand in this environment where COVID has been the excuse to take away our liberties, to take away our freedoms, and to interject it with government control of everything in our lives, including more welfare state, more inflation, more spending, more all of this stuff that we're here this evening talking about. COVID has become the excuse, and it does not matter, y'all. You cannot have government to be the one relied upon to replace livelihoods. The only way for individuals to have livelihoods is to open up the economy, not to send checks out from the government. But the Democrats are bent on not doing that and continue having us live under fear with COVIDs and mandates and lack of freedoms and all these kinds of things. So let me just land by saying this. You, in so many ways, are on the tip of the spear. I cannot tell you how important your phone calls are, your letters are, your meetings, your gatherings, your holding people accountable as your representatives, be it locally or state or federally. All of that matters, and if there has ever been a time for accountability, it's now. This is the time where we need men and women who, like I said earlier, dig deep, who understand we're in the fight of our life. This is not the time to throw in the towel. This is to be men and women of strength, warriors, patriots, to get in the battle, to chase this thing, to hold accountability, and we the people turn this around. And so I just want to say thank you for understanding that. Heritage Action has always been in the forefront of that understanding, and you have always, at least I can speak personally, you have always been incredibly helpful in helping me and our office understand some issues that we needed to have on our radar. And so I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing, and may God help us. You've got some awesome speakers that are coming up here to share even in greater details, but y'all, this is our hour. This is our time. This is a time where we, the people, have our finest hour in this country. And I just say God bless you for understanding that. Have a great evening. Thank you so much.
That was awesome. We are the men in the arena, right? That's what the congressman is talking about. And we're gonna talk tonight about specific ways that every single one of us can do more to lead in our communities, to get the vote out, to encourage that we all stand up. Standing up is not easy, right? It takes courage, it takes perseverance, and there's a member of Congress that I want to introduce to you all, Congressman Clyde. He did something in the face of Nancy Pelosi that I think y'all need to know about. If you recall, maybe 6 months ago, she set up some metal detectors to get into the Capitol. Just to walk into the Capitol, you had to go through a metal detector, like you were going to prison. So, Congressman Clyde said, no way, I'm not complying with this. This is arbitrary, this is taking away my freedoms, and I'm going to have a little civil disobedience. I think I can call it that, right, sir? Civil disobedience. So he said, no, fine me. Do it, I dare you. So she did, right? She fined him and said, no, you must go through the metal detectors to enter into my house. And he said, I think it's the people's house, ma'am. So then what he did, you took it a step further, didn't you? You actually changed your tax filings so that she couldn't fine you to take away your hard-earned dollars. That is the spirit we need in Washington. That is the edge we need to bring to Pelosi's trillion-dollar boondoggle. Please welcome Congressman Clyde to the stage.
Thank you. I'll tell you that I'll give you just a little bit of background on that story now. Actually, Nancy Pelosi is going to get a little bit of money out of me. She's going to get $1.04. Every paycheck for the next 18, I guess, she's going to get a total of $18.72 out of Andrew Clyde, and it's going to take her 1,202 years to get that fine of $15,000. I'm going to have to be in Congress until the year 3,223 for her to get the money that she fined me, and that ain't going to happen. So
she'll still be there.
Maybe so. But we levied that lawsuit on June the 14th. Served him on June the 20th, and it's going forward as we speak right now. So I think that we should see some good results from that. We are on solid constitutional ground. What Nancy Pelosi did in House Resolution 73 was she violated Article 1, Section 5, Article 1, Section 6, and the 27th Amendment of the Constitution. And if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And I am not going to give her 1 inch. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our nation's in trouble. Georgia will be in trouble. Our businesses, both large and small, will be in big trouble if the Biden-Harris administration continues down this path of destroying the American worker. It's my honor to speak to you tonight and to defend that American worker, their labor, and their paycheck. I appreciate Heritage Action for America, and I thank them for hosting this Save Our Paychecks rally, which will shine a light on the policies of the liberal left wing that are bent on destroying the exceptionalism of the American worker. And I thank our Governor Kemp for attending as our keynote speaker tonight to defend the hardworking people of Georgia. Credit goes to our governor for his bold leadership that has helped keep our labor force employed and businesses surviving so that our friends and neighbors may continue to support their families during these tough times brought on by the China virus. As a Navy officer of 20 years, a 3-time combat veteran of Iraq and Kuwait, and also a small business owner by trade, I have signed thousands upon thousands of paychecks in my lifetime. So you might ask, well, what kind of business were you in? My trade was guns. I sell guns. I love guns. Big guns, little guns, shiny guns, and black guns. My favorite is the black rifle. Do you like guns? All right, so do I. In fact, my business started as a hobby, kind of in my garage, because I needed a way to pay for my habit of buying guns. So I grew it to what it is today, a couple of stores in 2 cities in this great state of Georgia. And so being a small business owner, it has given me tremendous experience to know what works and what doesn't work. Lower taxes do work. Higher taxes do not work for small businesses. Earning a paycheck works. It creates dignity in work and actually produces something, a service or a product for that paycheck. Free money does not work. Free money causes hyperinflation, which eventually will destroy the value of your money and your labor and make everyone more poor. And wealth redistribution doesn't work either. You cannot take from those who earn it and give it to those who don't earn it, those who do nothing, and expect the economy and the country to thrive. We should be incentivizing success, not incentivizing handouts. Wealth redistribution. Thank you. Wealth redistribution is dependent on opium. That's right, opium. What is opium? Opium is the drug that tax and spend Democrats, liberals, communists, Marxists, and Washington swamp creatures are hooked on. It is a drug they need to go to treatment for, because once you bow down to it, it's almost impossible to get it out of your system. And opium is spelled O-P-M, and it stands for other people's money. Washington can't get enough of it. They spend it and spend it and spend it. And when they run out of it, the swamp creatures just borrow more and print more. They don't care that they are burdening your children and your grandchildren with unspeakable debt. That's why we are almost $28.8 trillion in debt and about to add another $4.7 trillion if Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden get their way. That's right, the upcoming budget reconciliation bill and the Everything is Infrastructure bill together will add a combined $4.7 trillion in new national debt. Keep in mind that annually it takes about $3.9 trillion to run the entire federal government. Think about that. We're about to borrow more than what it takes to run our government for an entire year. The federal government has been using the carrot and the stick approach to try and rule the free citizens of this great state of Georgia, our whole country, now for almost a year and a half, and I am so encouraged that we are pushing back. First, they said we should close down just for 2 weeks. Remember that? To flatten the curve. Those 2 weeks turned into 4 months when the federal government started handing out an extra $600 a week in unemployment benefits. Eventually, that temporary enhanced unemployment benefit dropped to an extra $400 a week and then down to an extra $300 a week, where it sits right now. But the net effect was to decimate small business, which are the backbone of our free enterprise economy. Those businesses just could not get employees to come back to work, and many are still having difficulty to this very day. Right now, there are more than 10 million job openings across the country and 8 million unemployed. There is no reason why we shouldn't be able to fill those positions, but many who fall in the unemployed category are just not interested in returning to work, and why should they? When they can stay home and continue to get paid by the federal government for doing just that. You know, it's hard to compete with free money. But thankfully, this past May, our good governor, Kemp, had finally had enough of the federal government's meddling and turned the program off at the end of June. That one decision probably saved more small businesses and helped more people get back to work than any other decision during this entire China virus pandemic. The free money is the carrot, but the federal mandates are the stick. The face mask mandate, the social distancing mandate, and now the vaccine mandate. They're all violations of our unalienable God-given rights under the Constitution. Every available legal option will be on the table to fight back, and I'm thankful that our governor and the attorney general are both standing strong against Joe Biden's vaccine mandate, a decision that should be made between a patient and their doctor. President Biden is not a king or a dictator that can make law through a royal proclamation. No, he is currently a United States president, and he can be impeached. For all those private companies out there with over 100 workers who are being threatened to force their employees to be vaccinated, or the company will be fined, I say stay strong. We've got your back, and we will do everything in our power to see that these egregious and unconstitutional edicts are terminated. Now, about 250 years ago, a group of individuals who believed in the sanctity of liberty and self-determination established a system of government that liberated the individual to pursue whatever dream they held in their minds. The result has been the creation of the greatest entrepreneurial spirit and untold innovation, progress, and increased wealth in the history of the entire world. It has lifted countless lives out of poverty and has allowed millions to achieve their greatest dreams. This is America, and we must defend our right to work, our right to achieve, and our right to care for our families as we determine. Now is the time to fight, and I implore you to join me in this fight, to save our paychecks and to save the dignity of the American worker. May God bless you, and God bless America. Soli Deo Gloria. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So there's a lot at stake. This is not business as usual. This is not a time to rest on our laurels. This is about fighting for what we believe in, being the man in the arena, and pushing back. Now, we mentioned a little bit of civil disobedience. I think it's okay to call it that. Next up is a woman that did it before it was cool. It's basically the best way to describe Miss Erica's story. And so if you don't recognize the name Erica Kious, did I say it right? Close enough? Pious like Kious. You need to know her. This is a woman that owned a business in Nancy Pelosi's district in California, and in the face of sheer hypocrisy from the speaker, getting her hair done at the height of the COVID lockdowns, she said, I'm going to expose it. I am going to show the hypocrisy and show how rules for thee need to apply to me. So it is my pleasure to invite Erica, a new face, to introduce to you all tonight. She's been on tour with us since Fresno, California, telling the story of a small business owner that stood up in the face of an oligarch and very unfair treatment. Erica, come tell us your story.
Hi, and I'm so happy to be a part of the Save Our Paychecks. It's so important to keep the momentum going, to keep small businesses going. Tonight, I feel like I'm a little bit more of an emotional wreck because we have literally, I'm going to talk about it, the recall, Gavin Newsom. Recall tomorrow. I have been traveling with that and doing some of that, but literally, like, the state of California, my home state, is on the verge of never coming back. God, it's so hard to say that. Just a little bit about myself. I am actually a first-generation American. My mom came here in the early 70s from Iran when the revolution hit, okay? Going on with Afghanistan and a lot of that, I can relate to a lot of that. My mom came here for the American dream, seriously. She was abused by her ex-husband. Her best friend who was going to come to the States with her, who is gay, I'm gonna say it, was murdered. He was outed by the government. So literally my mom's story alone is hard, but she came to this country for her freedom. I was raised by her, by a single mom, my mother, who literally worked in restaurants 6 days a week to give me a good life. We didn't have much money. I had no money from college. I literally graduated from high school, went to City College, and then worked my way through restaurants to build what I had in San Francisco, my salon. My salon all came from my own hard work. No loans, no nothing. All from my mother. My mother's work ethic. Work ethic is what a lot of people are missing these days, but and that, I like to tell that story because I think that has a lot to do with why I came out and what I did. Quick story about Pelosi. God, we still talk about her. Her name is still everywhere. Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi. I hear it every day, and it still hits me to this day. It's almost a year. It's a year later, and I'm still here fighting. I can't believe it. But she had been a client for 6 years at the salon, and I respected her privacy because a lot of people came out when I came out and said, you know, you did it because you were conservative, or to be honest, it had nothing to do with politics at the time. It had to do that she came in, I respected her privacy. I never told anybody she came in. I had the salon immaculate for her when she came in. And again, I met her children, her grandchildren, totally respected the woman, even though I don't agree with some of her politics. But she was a client. And for her to shut us down, and when I say them too, Gavin Newsom is also a part of my district. He owned a restaurant, the Balboa Cafe in the Triangle, in my neighborhood, which I spent years going and supporting. After 6 months of being shut down, I needed her most, or her community needed her most, she turned her back. The restaurant next door that she came weekly to eat at, boarded up. My salon, she didn't care. Did she ever think about, what's going on with those people? My salon's 5 blocks from her home. Her own community, nothing. Gavin Newsom, I handed out gift certificates to his wife, or I believe it was his wife or his sister. They had a golf tournament, a charity event. I donated services to that. We were a community. And where were they when COVID hit and they shut us down for so long? We pleaded and begged. And the worst part of it, as I say, is it's almost like they teased us, literally, these people. Sent me a letter of OSHA requirements. We spent the last of our money getting our salon ready to be COVID compliant, to open safely. The whole country was open in June. We were in August, September. Nothing. Still, didn't open us. We didn't literally open back up till February. February. It's unbelievable. And the worst, that's one worst part. The worst part of it, and I'll never forget this, and this is when I literally in my life thought, wow, it made me sick to my stomach, because I see good in everybody, and I think, you know what, I've always looked up to our government. I never thought that I would experience something like this or lose everything I work for over it. But the day she had her press conference and said that I set her up, you literally blamed a small business owner on you screwing up? I mean, the fact that I sat there and she, in front of the whole country, said I was set up. I've had cameras in there, guys, for 6 years. I didn't set her up. She should have manned up to her mistake and said, you know what, I made a mistake. I walked through your business, I felt safe, and I had my mask down. Or she should have said better, she should have said, you know what, I felt safe, I've been going there for 6 years, I trust these people, I made a mistake, I had my mask down, but I felt safe. Let's open all the businesses up. The restaurants, the salons, the gyms. No! That was a dream that would happen, but it never happened. Instead, she said, I set her up, which was a complete lie. A lie. Lied to the country. And that's when I just literally, it's like you melt, oh my God. Anyways, I'm still here to fight. It's, again, emotional for me because I did lose everything I worked for, but I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep fighting because literally, I watched the fall, or the rise and fall of San Francisco, of leftist politics, and it is, I'm gonna tell everybody in this country, it is the most scariest thing I could ever imagine happening. And I pray to God that Congress gets it together somehow. I hope and pray that 2022 we can turn this around, and I hope and pray to God that tomorrow, that a miracle happens, and if somehow next week Gavin Newsom is recalled, the people have spoken. This recall is not a Republican recall that he's saying. He's lying again. He's another liar. It's a nonpartisan recall. There's Democrats and Republicans. Livelihoods are lost. Children are behind in school. I mean, again, I can't say enough. I really hope and pray tomorrow happens and we recall him, because that will show the country that the people can change the country and the people speak, and that's what matters. Thank you.
Give it up for Erica. That's awesome. Thank you, Erica, and thanks for coming to Georgia. I mean, it's kind of a cautionary tale, right? No one in Georgia wants Georgia to turn as blue as California. And the lessons to learn here are so real, because without actually pushing back and exposing this, then the left is just allowed to run rampant over all of our freedoms without any sense of accountability, without any sort of recourse, and that's something that we will not stand for. And frankly, stories like Erica's have been the reason why we've gone state from state from state, hearing from business owners, hearing those in the community that have been affected by the lockdowns, hurt desperately. And then on top of this now, Biden and Harris and the Democrat Congress want to lay in $2 trillion worth of taxes to pay for their $3.5 trillion spending boondoggle. At a certain point, it's not just about the overspending, it's enough is enough. There's nothing left for us to give. And that truly becomes, I think, the heart of our anthem of Save Our Paychecks. It's the chorus across this country, and it's business owners that are standing up and saying no. Well, Congressman Allen is a business owner as well himself. Construction business in the state of Georgia, has lived this, has signed many paychecks himself. Welcome to the stage. How are we going to fight back, sir?
Thank you so much. You know, we were doing the lineup tonight. They put me behind Erica. Boy, that's a tough one to follow. And I tell you, Governor, when you open up the state, a few people asked me why you included salons in all of the businesses that you said could open up under the compliance requirements. Now we know why, right? Yeah. Governor, you got it right again. You know, the country's in crisis. You can feel it. We've been in the district pretty much the month of August, and as much as we can be. I will assure you there are 70 members of Congress that aren't having near the fun I'm having when they're in their districts. Now, the fun I'm having is watching the energy in Georgia, and then when I travel around the nation, the energy in this nation. We just heard part of that energy tonight. I believe that's contagious, Erica. Please share your message. Send it around this country, because I believe that there will be a tsunami in 2022 because of people like Erica. And y'all, these are entrepreneurs. These are people out there who are making America great. You know, one of the privileges that I had, I was elected in 14, and of course that was the last 2 years of the Obama administration. And Governor, it didn't take me long to figure out why the economy wasn't growing when I got there, because it was overregulation. I mean, I don't know what you go through in a salon, but the construction business is heavily overregulated. Our business was all 40%, and I knew something had to be done about it. And then in 2016, President Trump got elected. And I'll tell you what, I had no idea that America had in it what it had in it when President Trump, who is a tremendous leader, tremendous motivator, and one of the most confident people. Lindsey Graham said that, you know, he was doing an event for me, and he said, you know, people ask me about President Trump. Well, I've grown very fond of President Trump, and he's very fond of himself, too. You just have to get over that part. But, and that's a quote from Lindsey Graham now, not from Rick Allen. But, boy, the leadership he provided, and of course in the House we had the majority, and the Senate we had the majority, and it was amazing what we were able to accomplish legislatively, from the constitutional review, getting rid of all the regulations, and then that, like I said, didn't make sense. We had no idea why they were there. Remove that burden, and then we did tax reform, and we put more money in your pockets. Let me tell you something. I can't take credit for that. President Trump can't take credit for that. The American people take credit for that. America came back, and it will come back again, I promise you. I had no idea this country we had the greatest economy in the history of the world. I mean, the rest of the world, the respect they had for America was back. And I was so proud to be just a small part of that, and to work alongside my colleagues in the Trump administration to allow you to show the rest of the world that, you know, America still got it. And you still do. Now, like I said, the nation's in crisis. And people say, why? Well, and I'm so glad that you are a praying woman. And because my wife said a little prayer over me when I left today. But, you know, and I'm chairman of the Congressional Prayer Caucus, and we will lift you up in our prayers as well, because I know you're still in this fight. But, and you too, Governor, we pray for you. And, you know, the Old Testament says that when leaders do evil in the eyes of the Lord, the people will suffer. Duh. This is what we've got. Then you say, well, are they really doing evil? Do you know that we're one of 7 nations in the world, and it's not good company, one of 7 nations in the world that allows elective abortion after 20 weeks of pregnancy? One of 7. And like I said, if you look at the rest, China, Vietnam, you look at some of these other nations, we're not in good company there, folks. Can you believe that? And let me tell you what this president did. I mean, obviously, we allow abortion at full term. We allow a physician to kill a child if it's born alive in a botched abortion. That is evil, folks. That is just downright evil. And this president, to run on the Democratic primary ticket, had to resign his support of the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment protects your taxpayer dollars from going to pay for an abortion. And in that $3.5 trillion deal we're marking up, guess what? The appropriations chairman removed all the Hyde Amendment protections in the appropriations package. Folks, this could be a Daniel moment. I mean, people, you know, if you don't want your taxes to go to pay to kill a baby, you may not want to pay taxes. There could be a real revolution in this country. I hope it is. But the bottom line, it's evil. And America's better than that. You know, it's fitting that this is National Small Business Week. We're gathering to highlight a lot of what's happened under the Biden administration. And basically the way I view it is whatever we did to restore the economy, the Biden administration has gone the opposite way. And they're full steam ahead. From the standpoint of the last thing that came out, well, first, let me just go through a couple of things. First, again, the regulatory. He reversed all the regulatory reforms we did. All of a sudden, we got the brakes on the economy. Coming right out of COVID, folks. This economy, President Trump was right. It was going to be a V-shaped return in the economy. It just took a little longer than we thought. But it was headed that way. Well, they put the brakes on it. And then the dumbest decision I've ever seen in my life was the war on fossil fuel. I mean, we were energy independent for the first time in my lifetime. I mean, many of you remember the Arab oil embargo at '74. It crippled the economy. That's how Jimmy Carter got elected governor, I think, because he established the Department of Energy to make us independent, oil independent. Well, the American people did it. Now, fracking helped, technology helped, but folks, we had to pass a bill in Congress to export energy. Do you know how powerful that is? This administration has shut it down. In fact, he begged Saudi Arabia to up their production because you're paying more at the pump, right? Can you believe that? You know, that is usurping your power, your economic power. It is going to be devastating if we don't fix this quickly. Then, of course, we had the COVID mandates now, and the COVID battle. The Biden administration, I mean, they've been all over the boards on this thing. First, they said, as you remember, the vice president said, I wouldn't take that vaccination. Why? Because President Trump, it was under his administration. Well, now, look what's happening. And it became political, and people don't know what to do. This is what I recommend to you. Go see your doctor. Your doctor knows your medical history. Listen to your doctor. If your doctor says to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. Our hospitals are full in the 12th district. I don't know statewide, Governor, where it stands right now, but it's difficult. Unfortunately, in the ICUs, we have many unvaccinated folks, and 90% of those folks don't make it back home. This is a difficult disease, and it is important that you as citizens of this great state, go see your physician, get your physician's advice, and like I said, if he recommends getting vaccinated, get vaccinated. Don't listen to President Biden, and don't read your Facebook or your Twitter on what you think about vaccinations. Your physician. See, y'all, this is the problem with health care. This is the number one problem. Right now, health care is being dictated by a bunch of bureaucrats and Democrats in Washington, D.C. They're telling your doctors you can only stay for 3 days in the hospital. Now they're, I guess, telling doctors you must get your patients vaccinated. You know, there were certain drugs used as therapies that they told them that they shut the pharmacies down. These are the bureaucrats in Washington. HHS, $1.6 trillion agency that's making our health decisions for us. And I'm telling you, it's got to stop. But they are going to double down on everything that they have in this $3.5 trillion. Since under this administration, and this is what's really mind-boggling, Bernie Sanders couldn't get elected president if his life depended on it. That's why Joe Biden was nominated. Bernie was going to be their nominee. And they got together and decided Bernie was going to take their whole ticket down. Guess who's running the Senate under the Biden administration? Bernie Sanders. And guess who's running the House of Representatives under the Biden administration? AOC and the squad. And that's the reason this deal is $3.5 trillion. It's shameful for a small percentage of this country to be telling us how to run our lives. It's not, our founders didn't envision that, and our God didn't envision it. So why do they want socialism? Because they want to be your God. It's just that simple. They want to tell you what you can drive, where you can go, where you can live, what you can eat, how much health care you get. And then, you never know. They may tell you how long you can live or whether you can be born. They're already telling you when you can be born or not. It's a very serious time in our country, folks. But I am so excited about the energy in this room. I am so excited about the energy in my district. And I'm so excited about the energy in the state of Georgia. Now, as chairman of the delegation, which is a great privilege for me, I have some pretty huge responsibilities. Number one is getting Governor Brian Kemp reelected. Number two, we got to win back those 2 congressional seats. And last but not least, certainly, is we got to take back that Senate seat. Folks, there's energy out there. It's going to be a tsunami. You won't believe what momentum does in elections. I've watched these things. We have the momentum. Go get the job done. Go get the job done. You can do it. Georgia can do it. And we will get it done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congressman. Those are broad shoulders for all of us to stand on to get the job done. So it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Carrie Ludke. Carrie is going to have the distinct honor tonight of introducing our keynote speaker, Governor Brian Kemp. If you don't know Carrie, you need to know her. Heritage Action launched a state operation here in Georgia a few years ago, and we built out a grassroots network, very deep, very wide, but nimble enough to be able to work in the districts and nimble enough to be able to work directly with state legislators as well as with members of Congress. We have a number of Sentinels here tonight, Jim Jess, Carolyn, who you heard from, the Spies, and then of course, Carrie. So Carrie, come on up and do us the honors of introducing the governor.
Hello. My husband runs a tech company here in Atlanta. Some of his company's contracts are with the federal government. So at least a month and a half ago, when we heard the news that the Biden administration was going to force the military to get vaccinated, we knew that it was just a matter of time that it was going to affect our small business, being that we are a government contractor. So at least 2 weeks ago, I helped to write an email to send to our company employees, encouraging them to get vaccinated, but not demanding it. All the while knowing that if we wanted to continue working with some of these contracts, we are going to have to eventually send in the vaccination records of our employees. Then the last week happened, and it became worse than what we thought, worse than just being a government contractor. And that's when the Biden administration decided that all small businesses needed to have their employees vaccinated. Well, I'm here to tell you that American businesses have a lot of things to worry about, from not being able to find workers, to not being able to get supplies to make products, to worrying about inflation, tax increases. The last thing we need to worry about is being forced to have a mandate and in weaponizing our human resource departments and getting them involved in our employees' health decisions. So tonight, I'm very excited to introduce a governor that has been working really hard to fight back against the Biden administration's tyranny. Governor Kemp has been a national leader on this front. He's been a national leader by opening up our state for business, by not extending the unemployment benefits so that maybe workers will want to come back to work. He's been helping with law enforcement, giving them support that they need so that we can work and live in communities that are safe. But last but not least, he's also has not been behind forcing us to have mask mandates and vaccine mandates. With his proven conservative leadership, I know that Georgia will remain the #1 state to do business in. And so tonight, I'm extremely happy to introduce to you Governor Brian Kemp.
Well, thank you all thank you, Carrie, for that. Thank you so much, Carrie, for that kind introduction. I'm honored to be here at the Save Our Paychecks program here in the great state of Georgia, and I want to just first thank Jessica and Heritage Action for all they've been doing in our state on many issues. You know, the bad news is there's a lot of bad things happening in Washington, D.C. The good thing is we got a lot of people like Rick Allen and his colleagues that were here tonight that are going back to fight those bad things, and Congressman Clyde still with us. The better news is we're in the state of Georgia, the best state in the country for business for 8 years in a row, and we're not going anywhere. And you know, it's been mentioned tonight that we were the first state in the country to reopen, and there were a few others that were doing that, but they sure didn't get the attention that we did in the great state of Georgia. But we literally have been leading for a long time now the great American comeback. And we have showed the rest of the country how you can do that and how you can fight through some really tough times. And I was thinking about what Erica was saying with her salon and someone else that was talking about, I think it was Rick Allen, talking about salons being essential. And I had somebody tell me one time when we reopened, and they're like, look, bowling alleys aren't essential, tattoo parlors aren't essential, you know, hair salons, barber shops aren't essential. And I said, look, number one, these are our people. These are our people that elected us. They are the ones that put us here. And number two is, if you own that business, if you work in that business, if you hold a mortgage on that business, or if that business is paying you rent every month, it is essential to your livelihood and to your paycheck. Because I know, I've been there 35 years plus as a small business person, and so has our great First Lady, where we've sat there on Friday nights, barely able to have met payroll for the people that work with us, couldn't pay all our suppliers, and wondering, you know, what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? And I know that feeling that you had. The problem is we didn't have the government fighting that, at least in the state of Georgia. And so I got back up the next morning, I went back to work, and I did that day after day, week after week, month after month, sometimes years after years, to save my business or businesses. So when we opened, I felt like Georgia was in that place, because you get to a point where people in this country and in this state did what the government asked them to help at the start of the pandemic, to be true patriots to help us.
But when it extended and you had governors that started trying to be the president and control everything in your lives like we're seeing now, people are going to revolt. Government is only as good as what people can withstand. And if you try to do more than that, you have an uprising or a mutiny. And I really felt like that's where people were, because they were just like I was. They're like my business partners are. They're not going to sit in their basement and lose everything that they have worked decades for. They're also not going to sit in their basement and not pay the people that are working for them, because they know their business would be nothing without their people. And that they have to feed their family. They have to clothe their family. They have to get their family health care. They have to keep a roof over their family's head. And these are people that have never asked for anything from the government. And now the government wants to give them everything so that they become dependent. That is not how this country was built. That is not an ideal of this country. We all believe in a hand up, but not a perennial bailout. And that is what we're fighting. But because we did that, we are the #1 state in the country for business 8 years in a row. We did create and announce over 34,000 or 33,000 new jobs, a 5% increase in private sector company announcements that we're doing this last fiscal year. A record $11 billion of new private investment coming into Georgia. Another record in the middle of a pandemic. And we're doing that all across our state. 74% of the 379 projects that we announced this year through the Department of Economic Development are outside of the metro Atlanta area. So growing our whole state, giving everyone opportunities, just like we said we would do. No matter your zip code, no matter what neighborhood you are in or where you grew up. It always amazes me when I say this statistic, because it's just like mind-boggling that in the middle of a global pandemic, our unemployment rate in Georgia has dropped for 15 straight months. Think where we were 15 months ago. Think what we were fixing to go through. And then think about our unemployment rate dropping every single month since then. It's 3.7%, and everybody is looking for workers. But we fought to protect lives and livelihoods, or you could substitute in their paychecks. We fought for that to give Georgians a fighting chance, to let them live to fight another day. And we've seen it, as Erica mentioned, in other states where their governors didn't give their citizens a fighting chance. It makes me proud, even prouder than I've ever been to live in this state. I really believe we live in the greatest state in the country to live, work, and raise your family. And Erica, I can tell how engaged you are in what's going on in California tonight. And I hope it works out for you. But if it doesn't, you move to Georgia. I have 3 daughters. We will patronize your salon. But because of all of this, we continue to weather the storm. And we have continued to fight the overreach of the federal government. The unemployment supplement was mentioned several times. And we knew it was the right time to do that. And what have we seen since we did that? Our unemployment rate has continued to go down. I don't care what any business publication anywhere in the country, whether they're writing good figures about that decision or bad figures. I can tell you out on the ground, the small businesses that I'm talking to, they're saying thank you, because they're seeing people come back to get in the workforce. And it's so unfortunate that I really think, because of politics, the administration does not want our economy to be doing good. They want people to be dependent on the government so they can continue to pass these $3.5 trillion packages and get even more people dependent on the government. And they know if they break the back of working Georgians small business owners, and great entrepreneurs in our state, they know they will be dependent forever. And that is what this fight is all about. And that is why what we're seeing in Washington is such a disaster. I mean, the runaway inflation that we're seeing right now is only going to get worse with these things. Only going to get worse, especially when you have the federal government mandating what the level of pay is going to be in new infrastructure bills that they're passing. The reckless spending, believe you me, I have been one that early on said, look, I supported things early in the pandemic to help us weather the storm. But what they're doing now, there will be a payday for this. And it won't be coming from us. It'll be coming from our kids and our grandkids, if we can survive that. But we are seeing with the vaccine mandate, it is more of the same. And I don't want you to think that I'm against the vaccine. I got the same position Rick Allen has. Talk to your doctor. Make a good health care decision for you and for your family. We've been over a year into this now. People know about COVID. They know the risk. They know the fact that 95% of the people in our hospitals across the state have not been vaccinated. And the death rate now amongst those unvaccinated is off the charts. But people have to make that decision. They have to make that decision from themselves. And the government pushing that on them is only going to make people turn away and fight that even more. And if they decide to do that, that is their right as an American, even if some may disagree. But I was talking to several businesses. It's been amazing, even since this came out, how many people are like, this is going to be a disaster. Hardware store guy that has 6 locations, over 100 employees. This is nuts, is what he told me. Talking to a flooring manufacturer today, he worked on this all weekend trying to figure out how he's going to deal with it. I said, look, you don't even need to worry about it right now. The guidance isn't even out. But this guy spent all weekend worrying about something that there is no guidance on, which shows how ridiculous this is and how I don't think it's been thought out. I don't know how people are going to implement this. When you have people, literally HR departments now can't find an hour in the day to do anything other than try to continue to hire the workforce so that we can feed the supply chain to meet the demand, which will drive down inflation or keep it the same. Because when we're not doing that, the demand exceeds supply, prices go up, inflation goes up. I mean, it's simple economics. I did go to the University of Georgia, Jessica, by the way. Go Dogs. But it's the same way with big business. I mean, you think about like a Home Depot or a UPS that's headquartered here in Georgia. Hundreds of thousands of employees. Even if they were going to do this, how long would it take them to implement it and try to figure it out and get people, knowledgeable on the situation, hire enough people to even, deal with all these things? And a lot of these companies are already doing a lot of these things. They're holding vaccine clinics. They're incentivizing their employees. And some of them are mandating it. I personally don't think that's the way to go, but you know what? They got a right as a business to do what they please with their employees. And that is a hard truth when you are trying to fight for liberty and freedom, because a lot of people have concerns about that. And while I don't think that's the way to push, you have to respect the right of that business owner. But this is what we're all fighting against, regardless of where you are on the issue. It is the federal overreach. Because let's just say it wasn't a vaccine mandate and it was some other mandate. Like you have to open at 9 o'clock or you have to close by 10. You have to do this, you have to do that. All these things set the precedent to do more in the future if you have the wrong leaders in office. That is why right now is so important. That is why we all have to unite and continue to fight against these federal overreaches that are creeping their way down into state governments and to local governments. It has never been more important for us all to be happy warriors, to fight the good fight, But we have to be happy and we have to be excited about our ideas because they are better than the other sides. And you're seeing that play out all over the country right now. And I think because of that, there's a starkness that's developing between the positions. And that is when the silent majority, as has been mentioned, will speak. And people will rise up. Some of them may be loud and vocal, like you all. Others, once they get the facts, they will be that silent majority where they vote with their feet and their pocketbook and what's happening in their everyday lives. And if that happens, we're going to be in for a good 2022 here in the great state of Georgia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Governor. We really appreciate that. And thank you to all of our other wonderful speakers tonight, members of Congress, Erica. And man, Georgia is a great state. Spent a lot of time down here. That's right. I was down here with our Sentinels, door knocking, fighting for the Senate race, and so many other values that we hold dear. And as we said at the top of this program, we've been traveling around the